want to talk today about is Edrums and playing through a speaker or an amplifier versus playing through headphones. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I think there's probably roughly 3 different types of electronic drum kit drummers. The first type of electronic drummer is somebody that is new to drums, and they selected an electronic drum kit to learn to play the drums on. And the second, I think, typical electronic drummer would be, I would fall into this category, somebody that played for a while and enjoyed drumming, but for one reason or another gave up electronic drums gave up drums, and later in life came back to it. And I think there's lots of examples of that second category on the internet. Beats by Jay. Jason Ozant played drums for years and years and years, played in bands, and then I think he probably stepped away from it, and now he has an electronic drum kit set up in his little home studio, and he makes drum covers. Mike Fournier, another example, someone that played drums for years and years and years, and now plays electronic drums in his home, makes drum covers and posts them on YouTube. So I think that whether you fall into category 1 or category 2, most likely you're looking to play your electronic drums quietly. You're looking to probably play through headphones, and you either live in a home and you're trying not to disturb your family, or you live in an apartment and you're trying not to disturb your neighbors. And then the third category of electronic drummers, I think, is a group of people that want to take those electronic drums out and play in a band live in front of an audience, be that at a church or at bars or what have you. So if you are deciding to play your electronic drums out in public, or even just jamming with a group of friends, you're going to need to figure out a way to make your electronic drums audible to people around you, instead of just playing through a headset. Now, if you're playing in a really big band, and I mean not like a big band like swing or jazz or something like that, but if you're playing in a large group that has a big following, and you're playing on big stages and things of that nature, then odds are this is not going to be your concern, because you're going to have a sound man, you're going to have a sound tech. The band likely either owns a lot of PA equipment, or they contract with a company that supplies PA equipment, and so this is not going to be an issue for you, because that's pretty much handled. But if you're playing if you're just starting out playing with others, or if you're playing in a smaller band, then you may have a little bit of a challenge. And I'll just say that I played the drums for many years. And I played acoustic drums, and I played in bands, and I played in bars a whole lot. And then I got my electronic drums, and eventually decided to start playing them with at least one of my bands. And there's a learning curve for someone who beats things with a stick, aka a drummer, learning about electronics, and learning learning about PAs and speakers and things of that nature. So that's what I'm trying to address here. And one of your first choices is going to be whether to get a drum amp or a PA speaker. So when it comes to choosing between a drum amp or a PA speaker, both products have their pros and cons and their advantages and disadvantages. And I had a drum amp for a period of time, and I used it a handful of times. And what I'd have to say is that the drum amps are very compact. They're specifically designed for electronic drums, and so that is certainly a valid choice to use. And I think right now Simmons carries 3 different products: a 25 watt, a 50 watt, and a 200 watt, and I have the 50 watt. And I know there's other manufacturers of drum amps as well. Now, and I'm not trying to say anything negative about a product or anything along those lines, but I will say that I was underwhelmed with the performance of the 50 watt Simmons drum amp. And so I selected a PA speaker to use as my speaker for my drums. And what I ended up choosing was a Yamaha DBR 15. Now, I'm not necessarily speaking specifically in this video to the merits of this one particular product, the Yamaha DBR 15, so much as I am just talking generally about amplifying your electronic drums. There are lots of manufacturers of PA speakers. There are lots of very good quality manufacturers. There's JBL, there's QSC, there's Mackie. I know a lot of people on the internet rave about their Mackie thumps. There's EV or Electro Voice, and then Yamaha, and I'm sure there's other manufacturers as well. And I've got the Yamaha DBR 15. Essentially what I've got is it's a 15-inch powered speaker that is rated to 1,000 watts. Now when you're selecting either your amp or your speaker, I think something that you really need to think about, and once again this is a big learning curve for me, but you want to think not necessarily in terms of loudness. I think a lot of people associate wattages and numbers and think about something being loud or not loud enough or whatever. And I would urge you in your consideration for this to think fullness instead of loudness, and to think of a good full range. I mean, stop and think about how much money you've invested in your electronic drums, be it a relatively inexpensive starter kit or the most expensive drum set that you can possibly find. And I'm not trying to harsh on either particular product. I'm just trying to give a broad spectrum here. Your drum sound is only going to be as good as the weakest link here. And so if you invest a super amount of money in your drums, and maybe even go so far as to use a VST, Stephen Slate drums or Addictive drums or something along those lines, ultimately your sound is only going to be as good as your speaker, and so or what it's being amplified through. And so I would urge you, I mean, you're probably talking investing something between $300 and $1,000 in a good speaker, and I would urge you not to skimp here. I think this is a really important part of your drum set, and a really important part of your sound. So just a couple of very, very basics when you're shopping for speakers. Probably one of your bigger considerations is passive versus active. And basically a passive speaker is a speaker that does not have onboard power. It's going to have to be pushed by a power amp. And for what we're talking about and what we're dealing with today, I would recommend not doing that. I would recommend getting an active speaker. And the one exception is if you get an active or powered speaker and the band that you're playing with is using a PA that is using passive speakers or passive monitors and power amps, then you will blow up your active speaker if you try to attach it to power amps. But a lot of people these days, especially in smaller settings, are using active or powered speakers. And so there's no power amp required. You can basically just plug straight into it, or you can plug into a mixing console and then directly into the speaker. Another consideration is plastic casing versus wood casing on the speaker. And I've got to say that probably in most cases the speaker that you're going to buy is going to be in a plastic case, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think the wood casing may provide a slightly better sound. However, I think the differences are probably relatively minimal. The plastic casing is a little bit lighter, and then once again the differences there are fairly minimal. I think Yamaha makes a comparable speaker to the one that I have, and the difference in weight is about 5 pounds. One's in plastic and one's in wood. So at the end of the day, the speaker that I have weighs 42 pounds. I think the wood casing one weighs 47 pounds. So we're not talking about a significant weight difference, but nonetheless it bears mentioning that the plastic casing is a little bit light. Okay, so I'm going to give a couple of playing examples. I'm going to give 3 playing examples. And the first example is just me playing my electronic drums through a headset. And basically I just ran a line out directly off my module. And that's normally the way I record drum covers. And then the second example is going to be just me playing the drums and playing in the same room through a PA speaker. And then the third example is going to be me playing through a PA speaker with my band. And so I want you to take a look at these 3 different examples. And one of the things that I would preface all this with is a lot of drum modules have built-in ambience. And when you switch over to playing, from playing through a headset to playing through a speaker in a room, I would encourage you to probably remove all ambience, especially to begin with. Because if you think about it, the room that you're in is going to provide its own natural ambience. And then if you need to, maybe gradually work a little bit of ambience back in. But I would venture a guess that you would need far less ambience playing in a room than you would just playing through a chord. Alright, so the last thing I want to talk today about is what is it good for. So whether you choose to get a drum amp or whether you choose to get a PA speaker, basically what is your product good for? First and foremost, like I said, I've got the Yamaha DBR 15 powered speaker, and it's good for band practice. I take it with me to band practice, and I set it up kind of behind me / beside me, and that is the speaker that I play through, and that's what the rest of the band can hear my drums through. And so it's good for band practice. Number two, it's good for small gigs. If you're playing small gigs and you have it's a small room, it's like a coffee house or a really small bar, or it's a bar that I don't know, what it has like really reflective surfaces, or just generally speaking, a place that is very noise sensitive. You can use your powered speaker or your drum amp as basically as your PA. It's the PA speaker that your drums are audible through, not only to the band but also to the audience. And then if you're playing a bigger show, then you can just use it as a monitor, and you can set it up back to the back of the stage and use it as a monitor. Now I'll say too, using the 15-inch powered speaker, when I use it as a monitor for myself, I'm able to get vocals put in it. I'm able to get bass guitar put in it, keyboards, basically a full band mix in addition to my drums. So it serves as my monitor. And then one last consideration I'd like to throw out there is I do use the onboard click track in my module for when I'm playing with my band. And so I wear earbuds in addition to that, and the earbuds just basically have the click and then a little bit of additional drums just to kind of fill things out a little bit. But that's basically how I have things set up when I play live to be able to hear the click. So there's a lot of guys that have played electronic drums for a lot longer than I have, and they've played their electronic drums live. I'm interested in hearing from you, and what do you use in your live setup? Anyhow, hope everybody has a great day.